Am I in focus? Yes, I am. Good morning, everybody. I almost didn't make my countdown timer, which would be very awkward. I do not know what happens if that thing actually counts down, if this place explodes. I sure hope not. I hope to never find out. But good morning. I see a lot of you guys are joining now. Lisa, Jackie, Devin, Lynn, everybody else out there watching. It is very good to be here with you, and we are talking about your business today. The business of insurance, which folks out there watching, I think the bulk of you are in the insurance game. And I've had a very interesting couple of conversations recently with some of my ServPro colleagues that I wanted to share with you guys because I think it kind of speaks to what's going on in insurance as a whole. And I would definitely encourage you, if you have questions, comments, if you think I am totally off my rocker, chime in the comments here. Let me know if I am being overly broad or something, or just totally wrong. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. But here's what's going on. Yesterday, I had a great conversation with a bunch of my ServPro colleagues. We have like a peer group, a support group sometimes when things are really hectic, where we talk about ServPro. And I was talking to two really, really great sales leaders, and they were talking to me about how they made the leap to this business. They were both insurance agents for a long time, talking into the multiple decades here. And they got a little bit disillusioned with the insurance business and ended up jumping over to ServPro, and they're doing excellent, as you can imagine. And so I was curious why they did that. What would make somebody want to leave the insurance industry in a career that they've been working on for decades and come to the restoration business where it's very likely they're going to be in somebody's sewagey basement within a week and a half? Why would you want to do that? And they told me. They said that they got into insurance because they wanted to help people. And in recent years, especially in the last decade or so, the script had flipped a little bit and they were not being given the chance to do that. And they talked specifically about the claims process. And I want to talk about that today. So let's take a look at this. And I've got this lovely picture of a tree falling on a house to illustrate this point. Here's what they told me. They said, in the past, especially when they were first starting out, it was not uncommon for agents to be very intimately involved with a claim when a claim came in. And I think a lot of you folks who are local agents, everybody who watches the show is like cream of the crop. I'm sure you guys are pretty involved when a claim comes in. But they said in general, according to them, back in the day, your agent was kind of your claims concierge. They took your claim in, they took your information. The example they gave me was like a tree falling on your house. Tree falls on your house, it's a dark and stormy night, you hear a crack of lightning, you hear a crash in your kitchen, you go down, there's a tree leaning on your house. In the past, you could call your agent. They'd take your information, you could cry on their shoulder a little bit. They would help you put in the claim, and they would stay involved throughout that process. If you had a really good agent, they'd throw a chainsaw in the back of their truck and they'd come cut you out of your house. That's the past. And the change that they noted was there was a lot of discouragement coming from up above, suggesting that they should not get involved with claims in this way. Specifically, they were supposed to take that call. They weren't even supposed to take anybody's information. They were just supposed to say, okay, I'm going to transfer you to claims, and that's it. And then that would be the total extent of their involvement when something happened. And imagine that. You have built a relationship with someone, especially if you are a local agent working with them. You've said you're going to protect them. You've got them a policy that's going to protect them. And as soon as they have an issue, you're hoisting them off in the claims department, and that's it. For a lot of people, that didn't really feel good. That's not why they got into the insurance industry. That's not what drew them to it. It's not why they stuck with it. And when they felt like they weren't allowed to be a part of that claim anymore, they really kind of lost their verve for the whole thing. And given this is two people's anecdotes, right? But let's look at this in a broader way, right? Is this really what's going on? And if it is, why does it matter to people? So I've cited this study before because I think it is just a gold mine of information. But every single year, J.D. Power comes out with a U.S. property claims satisfaction study. And they just published one in 2022. It has a lot of good information. It is behind a paywall, unfortunately, so I can't just send you copies. But there were kind of three main points that came out of this study. The sort of the overarching theme was that claims satisfaction had a 5-year low. It was abysmal. And that was across all carriers, pretty much. people were just coming out of the claims process and they were mad, they were frustrated, they felt like they were kind of left holding the bag. And there were three major reasons why people felt that way that they cited. The first was just claims were taking longer than people thought they should. And that was borne out by the data. They were taking about 5 times longer than they did even the year prior, which is crazy for a claim to take somehow over a year, 5 times longer. There are a lot of things that go into that. I think supply chain issues, obviously, COVID, staffing, all that jazz you hear about in the news. But also, and this is one thing that J.D. Power pointed out, it was kind of a self-inflicted wound on the insurance industry because of reason number 2. People were being pushed to not only talk to the claims department who doesn't know them from Adam, but to use digital self-service tools to put in their claims. And you see these on commercials all the time. Hey, you can put in your claim 24/7, you have an app, take some pictures, it's easy. And what people were actually finding out was, sure, it's very convenient to start a claim that way, especially if it happens in the middle of the night, but they would very often reach a point in that claim, especially more complicated claims, where the intervention of a human being was necessary. And they would end up getting stuck in what J.D. Power called a hybrid digital limbo, because they'd get the claim as far as they could on their own. They'd be waiting for an adjuster to call them. That adjuster is probably overwhelmed with files, not getting in contact with them for weeks at a time, and that claim's just sitting out there in the ether. Nothing's happening. People don't know what's going on. And that brings us to our third point. People were just mad in general that they didn't have a rock throughout the process. According to J.D. Power, the single most important thing during a claim to make it a satisfying experience, because it's never easy, right? But a satisfying experience, was to have a single voice throughout the process. Somebody you could contact, somebody who would know what was going on, you had access to, who would update you, who would help you through the process when you got stuck. People no longer had that. And again, it's because their agents were not really allowed to be part of the process, and their adjusters. I work with adjusters all the time. Many of them are great. They are super overwhelmed. They just can't be Johnny on the spot all the time for all these claims. And people were getting stuck, holding the bag, trying to move that process along by themselves, and it was very frustrating for them. So no wonder claims are at a 5-year low for dissatisfaction. The industry as a whole is kind of taking the people who have relationships with the insureds out of the equation, pushing people to kind of handle a lot of it themselves, and they just aren't trained to do that. They don't know what this process really entails. They've never had a tree fall on their house before. They've never even had, a flood in their basement, something I see every day. They don't know what to do. They don't know what could go wrong, and many, many people are concerned that they're going to accidentally make a mistake and somehow undermine their own coverage. I see that all the time. People being very, very cautious and shooting themselves in the foot just because they don't have that guidance in place. So, of course, yes, frustrating not only for the agents, but they're seeing people cancel their policies because after they put in the claim, they feel like they've been underserved and they end up shopping around. So, what can you do? Because that's a big burden, right? And as much as I know everybody who is in the insurance field really does want to be helpful to people, they don't have the resources, maybe they're not allowed. It's not as easy as simply waking up and deciding, I'm going to be a super agent. That's not realistic. What is out there? What can you do to be more of a part of these claims, help them along? I can't answer that question totally for you, but I can tell you what I know I can do to help you. And that's, in many ways, simply being eyes and ears when I work on a claim. Many of you folks I've worked with your insureds in the past. Maybe that's how we met each other. And you know that you have access to me when I'm working on that project. Hey, how's it going? How's so-and-so? And similarly, if you need me to go out there, take a look, take some pictures, I can do that. If you need just a heads up, hey, this part's going sideways, so-and-so's mad because their hardwood floor is going to take an extra 2 weeks to come in, whatever, we can have those conversations. But I want to talk about 2 things specifically, aside from just the value of a relationship. One, and this was a totally new idea to me, from my ServPro peers, is that I can actually help people to negotiate better rates for commercial lines. And here's what I mean by that. And anyone who sells commercial lines here knows that there's negotiation built into the process if you're a broker. One of the things that gives you negotiating power is showing that your client, your prospect, is managing risk effectively. And there's all sorts of different ways to do this, including cyber risk. It's a pretty complicated question. But one of the ways I can help is our emergency ready profile program can actually be used, and this is new information to me, to negotiate those rates. These emergency ready profiles, we call them ERPs, they're relatively simple. They take me maybe 20 minutes sometimes to put together, sometimes longer than that if it's a complicated building, but they're not huge ordeals. And they tell you what to do in a disaster. They give you photos of your shutoffs. I tag your shutoffs. I do a 3D scan of the building very often. These tools can then be submitted to the carriers and say, listen, look at all the steps my client has taken to manage their risk. I'd like to negotiate for lower rates. And that can be a very effective tool. And for me, it's a win-win-win because I get to build a relationship with people I care about. Those people get to look like heroes to their insureds, and their insureds get better rates, more competitive rates, and they didn't really have to lift a finger. So that's something I'm going to be talking about more and more as I kind of get out on the road more, hopefully. But if that's something that interests you, if you're in commercial lines, let me know. I would be more than happy to do that for you, for your customers, for whoever. It's complimentary service, will not cost you a dime, and I think they're kind of fun. Number two, and this was another interesting thing that I was told might be helpful, and you guys can tell me if this is helpful or not, but selling insurance, and really, selling sounds like such a negative word, because what you're really doing is trying to make sure people have the appropriate level of protection for their property. And that can be tough because people are on guard, they're price conscious, and oftentimes they're trying to slash coverage because they just don't see the value of investing in that. After all, how would Joe off the street know the cost of a sump pump backup in their finished basement? They might look at their insurance policy and say, $5,000 is plenty. What do I have down there anyway? What I can do for people, and what I've found to be very helpful, is either in a lunch and learn format or just let me stop by. I can give you real world examples of what those mitigation processes take, what they cost, so that you can then be more informed to go back to your customers with real life stories and say, listen, if you have XYZ in your basement, let's say, you should be thinking about, if something would happen, it's probably going to cost you between this and this. And you should be covered for that amount because otherwise that's going to come out of pocket and this insurance isn't going to be that useful to you at all. And I've seen kind of, even in the past 3 years, quite a bit that I can provide examples for. I'm talking about, of course, your average water in the basement scenario. I've seen entire warehouses covered in ice. I've seen buildings burnt down. I've seen schools. I've seen hospitals. If you have a customer that you're trying to help understand the value of coverage, I can almost guarantee that if you call me, I can make that case with you. And I'm not going to sell anything for anyone, but I can certainly tell you what it's going to take if something happened. And these are things that are very, very easy for me to do. And I'm told they can be very, very helpful for my insurance friends out there, not only for solving specific problems, but for solving that big problem, right? Of, I want to be helpful to my people, my customers. How do I do that in 2022 in ways that I'm allowed to do? Because everybody's going to answer to their boss, their carriers, whatever. So if I can be of service at all to help you get over that hump, to deal with that frustration, and to make the most of your career and to help people, do not hesitate to reach out. That's kind of why I'm here. And with that, I think it's time to draw a prize. And if you guys have never seen this, let me pop this wheel of names up there. And see, I see some people joining. Jennifer, Kathy. Kathy, I hope you enjoyed. I know I hear you were out sick yesterday. I'm glad you got it. If you guys have never seen this is the wheel of names, and if you're part of the Serve Pro Mug Club, your number is on this wheel, and if you're not, what are you doing? Let me know. I'll get you in. I'm going to draw a number off this wheel. That person will win a prize. If they're watching, they will win a double prize. And the only way for me to know that you're watching is for you to leave a message in the comments. So let me know your favorite color. Say hi to my dog, Homer. He's somewhere around here. Whatever you need to do to tell me that you're here, do that now. And I'm going to spin this wheel. All right, let's go. No whammies, right? Okay. 116. That's an original. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you watching. 116 is going to be Tracy Milks at Terra Nova. Tracy, if you're watching, let me know. If not, we were just there yesterday because Daryl Terra Nova won a jug of Surf Pro Green for answering every question wrong last week when we were playing Would You Drink It. But he got a prize all the same. And Tracy, we will be back with something special for you too. Always good to get out to Orchard Park and see our friends. Um, Thank you guys for joining. If you have any reactions, if you want some help with emergency planning, drive down some of those commercial rates, you just need someone to back you up when you're talking about coverage. You just want to know what it takes to do mitigation so that you can better inform your customers. Call me. I am an open book. Probably too much so, but I have nothing to hide, and I'd love to help you. And we'll see you guys next week.